this month, I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to the podcast the last week of December, but it was all about wintering and how winter is a season to really lean into rest and not necessarily start new projects and set new goals for ourselves, especially as women. If you didn't have a chance to listen to that episode, it's one of my favorites that we've done so far. So I would say go check it out. But with that at heart, I wanted to focus January's holding space on rest, because rest is something that most women that I talk to have a really difficult relationship with for a lot of different reasons. We feel a lot of responsibility on our shoulders. We resist it because maybe we feel guilty. We don't feel like we have the luxury for it. There's a lot of beliefs around why we can't allow ourselves to really rest. So I wanted to take some time in January as a group to explore that and create a space where you can explore that for yourself. So the holding space is not going to be a workshop. It's not going to be a class. It's really my heart for what this is going to become. And this is our first one. So it's going to evolve and we're going to get better, I think, as we keep going, like anything. But my heart for the holding space is that it is a space, a safe space where women can lean into, take off their armor, because a lot of us are just powering our way through life. We have a lot of people that rely on us. We do a lot of things for a lot of others. And some of us are really armored up because you have to survive. You have to get through. And so I wanted to create a safe little haven where we can take that armor down. We can breathe. We can connect more deeply with ourselves, and we can create connection with others that gives us permission to just be, So it's not about fixing anything. Nothing about us is broken. It's not about getting more head knowledge. It's really about discovering ourselves and cultivating connections with others who are on the same journey of wanting to live a more wholehearted life. So with that in mind, I think it's interesting how we all kind of had that tension, but we didn't realize it until we really checked in. Right? The hunched back from the computer, and then like, oh, I realized I need to do that, right? Or the nerves, right? Or the tension in the lower back, like. And so I think a simple takeaway that we can all practice, and even if it's setting an alarm on your phone once or twice a day, just to do a quick self check-in on your physical. Where have I started to carry some stress? Where am I feeling tension in my body? What am I holding on to? And what would it look like to release that? Sometimes it's just a stretch. Sometimes it's just breathing for a few minutes. I know for me, sometimes it's a good cry. If you've listened to the podcast, I'm a big crier. I love a good cry. I'm like, I just need to cry because it just helps my body release that tension. That's my favorite way to release tension, is just cry it out. So you figure out what that looks like for you. But the reality is all of us, every single one of us, is walking around with so much more tension in our bodies than we even realize, because it's the norm. It's the norm. And we don't have to operate that way. Our bodies are not created to operate that way optimally. And so it's shifting our awareness and choosing to learn to how to release that tension from our body, and then hold that space within ourselves of peace that we're learning how to create and protect. So any thoughts, comments, questions, or reflections on that, Claire?
I do. I've really noticed in about the last year that I think for majority of my life, I have held my breath. When I'm working, sometimes I've noticed I'm literally like in the of a breath, and I'm talking, I'm completely functioning and working through it. And then I step back and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm literally hardly even breathing. And um yeah, it's so taking this, I think, to get out of that habit, because it's such a ingrained habit. I think this will be really big, setting a timer to really stop and be like, okay, this is a thing. Notice it, release that breath, do a couple deep breaths, and create that habit.
Thank you for sharing that. Who else here can relate to realizing they're not actually breathing?
Yes, I could totally relate to that. A lot of times throughout the day, I'm like such a shallow breather. And then, like, the more I've become aware of my breath and my body, I'll like stop and be like, and like I'll take like a big sigh. And sometimes people will look at me like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" And I'm like, "I just wasn't breathing." I have to like ground myself and bring my breath back in. So, yeah, I can totally relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, to be vulnerable, like I just went through a really stressful last 4 days. And I really try to create very little stress in my life. So it's not a norm for me. So I'm very sensitive. Like I'm like I'm stressed out. I'm feeling anxious. I was hyper triggered. I was hyper activated by some things. I started dating and it's bringing up a lot of stuff for me that I haven't had to deal with in like 11 years. So I'm like, man, I thought I had worked through this crap, but it's all surfacing now. And so I've been like in this highly anxious state for the last 4 days as I've been working through something with a man that I'm dating. And yesterday, when we finally like were able to get through that breakthrough together and like reconnect and understand each other, and there was repair and resolution, I literally was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I've been breathing right for the last 4 days. I looked at him and I was like, I think I just took my first full breath in 4 days. So but the reality is there was a time in my life where I was living in that hyper stress day and night, 24/7. Like that was my reality. I was so stressed out. It was my norm. And I didn't even realize it because that was my normal. And I wasn't breathing. So that's the beauty of integrating these little check-ins, even if it's not throughout the day, even if it's just like when you wake up in the morning or when you go to bed at night. Like I did that a lot in my early journey of just at nighttime going to bed and doing a little scan just before I went to bed. I'd learned to scan my body. I learned to reconnect with my breath. I'd learned to kind of prayerfully go through my day. Like, is there anything throughout my day that I need to like close up, before I wrap this day up? And that kind of became this like evening ritual that reconditioned how I like. It's so funny when you start doing these tiny little practices, they start to have a ripple effect into how you show up in the rest of your life. So breathing, huge. Pay attention, Leslie. Pay attention, Miranda. Victoria, as we go through the rest of this month, every now and then, just check in with your breath, check in with your body. I want to ask you guys, what makes rest difficult for you? When does rest feel difficult?
For me, it's at nighttime. I don't sleep well. I sleep like 4 to 5 hours a night, and then I'm constantly on the go during the day with the business that I have. So I feel for me, it's at night is the
Okay.
worst for me.
Are you comfortable sharing what that looks or feels like when you say it's difficult? Are you comfortable sharing? If not, that's okay too.
I just have a hard time getting to sleep,
Okay.
and I've tried all kinds of different things, and I don't want to do medication. Um, so I think it's for that. And then I wake up like a million times a night. Every time I turn over, I wake up. And it's all night long. And I don't know if this is me in my 40s or what is going on, but it's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? We're not here to fix anybody, right? So we're not gonna give advice. We're just gonna say thank you for sharing because this is the holding space, not the fixing space. And anybody else want to share what makes it difficult for you to lean into rest?
I think when I get into that place of like I'm going and doing a bunch of things and slowing down, like the slowing down part is like, but I think my mind goes to like, if I slow down now, I won't get the rest of the stuff I need to get done later. Um, it's probably like more kind of just like lack mindset. Like I won't be able to get what I need to get done. Um, or have enough energy for it or want even like a drive for it later. So
So what I'm hearing you say is you have a hard time resting when you feel like you have a lot that you need to get done, and you just get into this like get it done mode, and you don't want to stop because you're afraid if you stop, it'll interrupt your momentum.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can anybody else relate to that in some way?
Yeah, I was gonna kind of say a similar thing because I'm the kind of person that's very like moves with inspiration. So like when the inspiration's there, you're just flow with it. But then it can kind of turn into like overworking and like just obsession. So I think there's like this fine line. I think I've learned over the last 3 months, because I just started a business, like it's okay. Like this is not sustainable to do all what I was doing constantly. So how do we find a balance? And I think I'm slowly finding that balance, but I have that same fear, like if I stop, like I'm not gonna pick it back up or not gonna have that same that energized like inspiration. So I feel similar there. And I also think like I mean, yeah, I'm just thinking, I want to say that I don't prioritize rest, but I think that I do. I think I can, I don't know. I feel like it just ebbs and flows throughout the week. Like it doesn't always look the same. I think I've grown to try and prioritize it, but it's still not like at the top of the list. It's still very much, well, I have all this stuff to do. And then when I do that, then I can rest. And it almost works like a cycle, you know, like, okay, well, can I rest before I don't think I can rest before the like to-do list. So I guess you could say that then rest is not necessarily a priority if you can't rest before the to-do list. So, so yeah, these thoughts are going to be very jumbled and externally processed. So yeah.
Can anybody else relate to feeling like you can't rest until you get everything done that needs to get done? Leslie can. Mariah,
Yeah.
was that you saying yeah?
Yeah. I would say, especially when it comes to like specific projects, like if I'm moving or something, like I want to unpack the whole house before I feel like I can relax, or like sometimes I'll want to get all the cleaning done and all the laundry done, or things like that before I feel like I can actually settle down. So sometimes I don't think it's necessarily always a bad thing, right? It's not all or nothing, but like sometimes it can take priority over connection time or spending time with my husband and my son, like time that I could be spending with them versus getting these chores done that will be there the next day. Yeah.
Here's a question for you guys. Do you find that there are, thinking about your monthly hormonal cycle, right? And there's our menstruation phase, which is the time of the month that we're bleeding. And then from there, we go into our follicular phase. And then from there, we go into our ovulation phase. And then from there, we go into our luteal phase. So there's the 4 phases. Eventually, I'll share way more about this because I'm super passionate about this topic. But there's 4 different hormonal phases that a woman goes through every month. When you think about when you're bleeding, the week after your period, when you're ovulating, and then before you start your period, are there times of the month where you find you need more rest, need less rest? Are there times of the month where, like you guys were talking about, like I feel like I just want to get this stuff done, and you do it, and then maybe other times of the month where you do want to get stuff done, but you just don't have the energy for it, so you don't do it? How do you see your relationship with rest changing throughout the month?
I'll speak on this because I've really been leaning into the cycle syncing for the last, I think, minimum 6 months, and it has changed my life, actually. And first, I tracked everything on the calendar, and it was nice writing it down because I really could not only feel, okay, I'm really tired this week. Okay, it's this week. before my period. And then the next month I would see the same and the same. So it really helped click that our bodies do really go through the same thing every month. And then I started to integrate, okay, I need to rest this week. Like, I'm not going to plan anything extra. And now that it's kind of coming more naturally, I can feel, okay, I have a lot more energy this week. I'm doing things, I'm hanging out with my family, I'm making plans because I can feel it in my body. And then I look at the calendar. Yeah, this is my energized week. And then it just kind of gives permission where you're like, okay, I'm really tired this week. I prioritize rest for myself this week because I'm on my period. Like, it's really intentional. It makes it really like purposeful, which I think helps instead of like pushing or, yeah, getting upset with yourself because you don't accomplish what you want to.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's intentional, but also I think the more you start paying, I know for me, the more I started paying intentional attention to my cycle, the more I realized how intuitive it also was.
Yeah.
But I think that as women, we're really living in a masculine energy. There's a masculine energy to the culture that we live in, and we're expected to perform the same way every day, 7 days a week, 28 to 31 days a month, 12 months a year, 365. Like, the standard of performance is supposed to be the same at all times. And that's how men function because their hormonal cycle is different than ours. They have a 24-hour hormonal cycle. So every day they can do the same thing in the same way with the same energy. But because we have estrogen and testosterone and progesterone and all of it, and there's big dips and all of this stuff over the course of a month, our energy level and our bandwidth literally varies to extremes throughout the month. And so when we're not raised to know that and have that understanding of how God created us, of our divine design, and we look around us at a society that is like high standard, high performance all the time, we feel this pressure that we have to keep going all the time. And it actually creates this disconnection between us and our intuition, because intuitively, there's a part of us that knows I can't sustain this. But we silence that intuition because we feel this external pressure driving us to sustain it. We can compare ourselves to the men in our lives. How many of you guys, my dad set the standard for how I was supposed to operate. And he was a man, so he wanted me to show up a certain way all the time. Or men that I've been in romantic relationship with, and I see like they just go to the gym, they just stick to their routine, like it's just easy for them. And I'm like, I don't want to go this week, but then I feel lazy. And what's wrong with me? Nothing. Once I started understanding my natural rhythm and who God created me to be as a woman, I could start resting into that. I could lean into that. And I started to kind of shake off the shackles of external pressure of performing all the time and keeping up with everybody else. And I started to make peace with my own pace. And there's been tremendous rest in that. But also, what I have found, because I've been practicing cycle syncing now for like 5 years. And what I have found is it's also helped me to be extremely more productive, because true productivity is a direct result of being well rested.
Yeah.
True or false?
True.
Why is that true?
It's like when you take care of yourself and you're rested, you have like the energy and the replenishment to go out and help others, or even just you have energy to do what you need to do. It's like you get a good night's rest, you're gonna probably pass a test a lot better the next day because your brain is functioning properly, like even like biochemically and your nervous system and everything. But like if you get poor sleep, next day you're probably gonna not do so great on that test. Your focus might be off, it might be cloudy. Like in our bodies physically and mentally, it has a huge effect on like the rest we get. Not just literally talking about sleep, but just rest in our spirits and everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The more well rested that we are, the more optimal we show up in everything that we do. The less forgetful we are, the less clumsy we are, right? And so we start to show up way more clear-minded, way more efficient. We're not showing up from a place of deficit where we're now, when I get into a place of deficit, I get really critical of people. I can get bitter and resentful. I can take offense really easily when I'm in a depleted state, right? Whereas if I'm in a well-rested state, I have a lot more grace for people. I'm way more patient. I'm way more understanding. So it affects how I show up in my relationships, how well I care for the people that I love, how well I connect with the people that I serve. So the more that I prioritize and protect rest in my life, the more effective and efficient I show up in every area of my life. But we have it backwards in our society. We think rest is something that we need to earn. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen.
Right? I need to do. I need to check everything off the list. And if I get that done, then I can rest. And that's why over 50% of women are functioning from a place of burnout, because we're not designed to operate that way. And if you listened to the wintering episode, which I think we aired it, was it December 29th, Mariah? If they want to go back and
it was
watch
the last week.
the last week of December. In that podcast, I shared that when God created the order of things, he started, the day begins at night. A new day in the way of God's design is there was night and then there was day, the first day. So in God's created order, a new day begins at sunset. A new day begins with rest. And then it's very interesting. I didn't share this in the podcast, but God created for 6 days. And then on the 7th day, he rested. But the 7th day was the first day for humans. God created on the first day, second day. On the 6th day, God created man, humans. And on the 7th day, he mandated rest. It was their very first day of existence. And he says, today you rest.
Wow.
And then you'll work for 6 days. And then a new week will start and you will rest. And then you'll work for 6 days. So in God, the way that God designed creation, the way that God designed humans, the way that God designed women, is that we function best when we first prioritize and protect rest. Everything else begins to blossom. I wrote here that rest is not a prohibitor of life. We think rest is limiting. There's not enough time and I won't get enough done and da. We feel like rest will prohibit us in some way, but rest is actually the very womb of becoming. When I say that, what do you hear? Rest is the womb of becoming. It sounds so like philosophical and very on Living Beautifully brand, doesn't it? But what does it even mean?
When I hear womb, I think of birth and like new beginnings and fresh and yeah, like rest comes from, or after you rest, then you flourish and come from that.
What I hear is,
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Victoria.
No. If rest is like the womb of becoming, then you cannot become without rest. Like our biggest, like truest, most beautiful, everything that we were created to become and to flourish would all start in the womb of rest. Yeah. Yeah, I see like a little seedling like hidden underground and like being nourished and protected. And in that state, if it's not taken good care of, it's not going to flourish when it is growing and emerging and becoming. So kind of how I envision it.
It's good. Yeah. Well, and I love that illustration of the seed. First, the seed has to be buried. The seed had so much potential. The potential to become, oh, we have a new friend joining us. The potential to become, rich. Yeah.
Good. How are you?
Good. Welcome. It's so good to see your face. So I think you guys, I think it would be great for us to talk about culturally, what are some of the confusions or lies that our culture believes about rest that maybe we've come into agreement with?
I think of the word lazy.
I was going to say that. So perfect.
Yeah. It's such a like I don't like that word just because um I think it is such a cultural thing that lazy is so frowned upon. But is the definition of lazy not accomplishing things? Like it's a very I feel like gray subject, and we like strive to not be lazy, and I feel like we don't even know what that means or what that looks like. And
But there's a lot of shame around it, and we don't want to be it. We don't want to
yeah,
be labeled lazy.
Yeah.
Who does not want to be labeled lazy? Right. So anything that could potentially be deemed as, oh, you're being so lazy, whether it's, our friends, our husbands, our parents, we're like, I don't want to be, I'm not lazy. I'm not a lazy person. And so we over push ourselves to almost prove that we're not lazy. So how do we make peace with that? How do we step out if that's something that we've come into agreement with? I don't want to be lazy, and rest is lazy. How do we step out of agreement with that? What would that look like?
I think with my walk that you know, rest was like a big thing for me and I just didn't know how to do it. Because I wanted to be on the go all the time. So I think one thing was it's okay to schedule things later. It's okay to get to them later. You don't need to do everything at once and just giving yourself like permission because the world doesn't want to give you permission. So you have to give yourself permission to like say yes to things.
Good. Yeah. So giving yourself permission to rest without labeling it as lazy. Yeah. Any other ideas if that's something that you've come into agreement with along your journey of life? How do you step out of agreement with that?
I think for me, it's just like a deeper. So when I lived alone, like as a woman, like I I didn't judge myself. I don't think I judge myself. I like to rest. I like really slow days. I like reading. I like drinking my cup of coffee over 3 hours. So there's like a lot that I just like to do slowly at times. I think being married now has kind of changed that a little bit for me, where there is like a comparison of like I want to lay in bed longer and not do a single thing and not go to the gym in the morning. And especially in winter, I enjoy sitting in the sun for an hour when I wake up. There's just a lot that's like different, and it can feel, I think I judge myself probably more than my husband judges me, but I think there is this like self-judgment of like, this is what I should do. So therefore, like, is it wrong? Or like I'll hop on a call with someone and be like, what did I do? Like I'm almost trying to justify like what am I going to tell them that I did today? Like, I'm like, what if they ask me what I did today? I'll be like, oh, the first half of the day I did what would be to you, not absolutely nothing. So like there's like this almost this need to like justify the nothingness that I actually mostly enjoy doing at times. So, but yeah, so I don't know. It's almost like you're frantically scrambling to be like, oh my God, what did I do? And I'm like, I sat and I journaled for 2 hours and then I drank my coffee. But like, you can't, I feel like I don't have permission to tell someone that, because then you're like, there's like, and they probably don't care. But I think for me, there's like that self-judgment and almost like criticism that and like, like I think someone's gonna think that, but that doesn't mean they are. So, anyways, that's my process.
Yeah. I'm hearing comparison. We're comparing ourselves to the standards that we think others will have of us. Any of you who have been through life coaching, if I'm comparing myself to a standard that I think my husband might have of me, what kind of distorted thinking might that be?
The should one.
There was the should, yeah, and there was also another one.
Not emotional reasoning.
Could it be also like all or nothing?
All or nothing.
It could be all or nothing. And also I was thinking mind reading.
Oh,
right?
mind
I'm
reading,
comparing
yes.
myself to a standard that I'm assuming somebody has of me that they haven't actually told me. So I'm making assumptions, which is right out of the book, The Four Agreements, right? Don't make assumptions. And I'm mind reading and I'm all or nothing and I'm shoulding on myself, right? And so there's a lot of distorted cognitive distortion going on right there. And that is robbing us of our peace and being able to fully lean into and embrace that rest. And I think part of why all of that cognitive chaos kicks in is because we might be attaching our value and worth to what we produce. So if I feel like my value as a human being in this relationship is based off of what I produce, then anything that I'm doing outside of what I think I should be producing, I will feel guilty about. I will feel shame around. I will have because it's not in alignment with what I think where I think my value is coming from. And to be quite frank, when we attach our value to what we produce, it's indicative that we're actually operating from a very masculine, energetic place because men have a high value for what they produce. But women are created to be, right? We're beers, we're nurturers, we're comforters. We are created to have more of an awareness and a desire to tend to the emotional climate of a home, the spiritual climate of a home. And because that's our natural state of being, we need different things in order to be able to operate that way. And when we start getting into that produce, masculine energy, it actually starts pulling us out of our God-given strength. And we don't become the peace creators in our home because we're not even at peace within ourselves anymore. Can anyone relate to this? Yeah. So how do we shake off that pressure? Because it's so deep. I mean, it's deeply ingrained, isn't it? That we have to do and we have to produce and we have to keep the momentum going and don't be lazy and prove yourself and don't need anyone and make sure you're adding value. Like all of these cultural pressures. How do we step out from under that? How do we become women who can embrace the gift of rest, our inheritance of rest that we were created to live in? That doesn't mean that we don't produce. I feel like I don't need to say this, but just in case, I'm not saying sit around and eat bonbons all day. That's not what I'm saying. God said, be fruitful and multiply. Like we are called to be fruitful. We are created to create. We're called to have an impact. But what that looks like and how we go about that is very different than how men do it. And we function best when we're coming from a place of rest. So it's not that we don't produce and it's not that we don't create and it's not that we don't influence. It's that everything that we do is an overflow from who we are, how we're being, and rest is the womb of becoming. So instead of saying, I have to get all these things done and then I can rest is something that I earn. We have to start looking at as everything I do is an overflow from how well rested I am. Thoughts? Victoria?
I guess I have a question like in return. So we know in context now kind of like the masculine expression of productivity. But I think in my mind, I'm curious, like what then would a feminine expression of productivity be? Where we are producers, but not in the same way. Because like I am definitely a doer. I understand there's like this balance, but I'm curious in your perspective, like what does that look like as a feminine expression? Because I think I'm having a hard time like wrapping my mind around it because I know societally what masculine productivity looks like. But I'm like, okay. And then we also see, the very like boss lady productivity. And there's like different examples. And then I also see on Instagram like the homestead mothers who get to stay home and sew all day. So it's like, okay, what is feminine? Like there's so many different examples. And I'm curious to hear from you or anyone else in this group. I guess what does that look like? Because I'm just trying to grasp it before I can say, oh, this is how I would take steps towards that, I guess, if that makes sense.
Can I think everybody might benefit from this because can I coach into this with you specifically? You want to kind of explore this together, but I think everybody could probably hear themselves in this and answer the questions for themselves. So I think it could benefit everyone. My first question to you would be, when do you feel most well rested?
This is good. I'm thinking back. When I don't have a to-do list. So I'm thinking back to Thanksgiving holiday or December holiday. I was like, I put everything on pause and I just didn't think about it. And I remember just feeling present, like, hey, I don't have anything to do. I feel like creating, so there was that, yeah. It just felt like empty space essentially.
So I permission to share a little bit about what I've learned about you through our time working together with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I know that you have a little bit of an all or nothing view when it comes to you're either in do mode or rest mode. Can
Mm-hmm.
anyone relate to that? Okay. So it's either do, go, be productive, or switch it all off. And I had nothing to do. There was no to-do list. I could just be present, right? So
Mm-hmm.
right there, you've separated the two. I'm either doing or I'm being.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to integrate the both. The key is that everything you do is an extension of your being. That's how a woman produces out of her feminine flow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not I'm in do mode or be mode. It's yes, I have to go. Like Leslie has her own business. She doesn't have the luxury to just wake up and say, I'm going to sip on coffee all day. She has people that she's responsible to. She has dogs she's got to take care of. She has families that are relying on her, right? Like, but how can she show up to her to-do list from a place of being and not doing? It's a mindset shift and it's a heart posture shift. And one of the words that you said, Victoria, was very key. And it like stood out to me so much. You said that over the holidays, you were able to just be present. When we are being fully present, no matter what we're doing, there is a peace from that posture that we experience. True? Who can relate to that? right? When we get into do mode and produce mode, who can relate to this? When I get into, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. I have this, I get into my head. I check out of my heart and I'm just in my head. I'm out of my body and I'm in my head. And that drains me, right? But how do I show up and go, okay, I have these things that I like. Over the holidays, I did a deep clean of my whole house. I spent 7 hours one day just deep cleaning my garage. And I was fully present. And it was a fun, like I felt joyful and present and peaceful. It didn't feel like a task that I had to accomplish or something that I had to produce, because of my mindset around it, because of my heart posture towards it, and because of how I was choosing to engage the doing. Is this making sense? Is this helping answer your question? How do we produce, but not from a masculine energy? We focus on our state of being while we're producing. Any thoughts? Anybody want to add anything from your own personal experience to that?
I think being present is something that I had to like learn over the years, because like you said, I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but I'll be like, I'm gonna use the word like I'll be, oh my God, this is gonna sound so weird, doing present but not being present. Like I'll be like, oh, I'm present in this moment, but I'm not actually present in this moment because I'm so in my head about being present that I'm actually not present. So that, yes, that makes sense.
Can anyone relate to that? Miranda, are you able to speak into that a little bit? I'll put you on the spot, girl.
I'm processing what you said, but I was thinking about how when I feel really busy, I'm learning to just like go, okay, I'm in this moment, like kind of just like choosing to be present in the moment and train my like mind to be in the moment, because I can get I have had a tendency to get like spacey when I'm like trying to do stuff, and I start to drop things and break things and like kind of check out. But when I'm like grounding myself in the moment of like feeling busy, that has been helpful. But and it's taken me a lot to like get there without getting in my head about being present. So but I think as I put things into practice more and more, it's like just come more naturally, instead of me just like trying so hard, like striving to be present. So yeah.
Like anything, it's a practice. Who can relate to this? I find myself getting really in my head when I start feeling internal or external pressure to perform a certain way. You can relate to that? And then I overthink. Wait, where did Claire go? I'm like, the screen, that was so confusing for my brain right now. I'm like, wait, and then there were 6. Where did number 7 go? Maybe her computer died. So like, even for preparing for something like this is work for me, right? Like, this is part of my job. This is a service that I'm offering. And I can feel this pressure sometimes, like, oh, I want to give these women value. I want to make it worth their time. So there's this external pressure of, I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want them to feel like it was a waste of time. I want to make sure everyone leaves with something of value. There's this internal pressure of like, what if I don't have anything good to say? Like my internal insecurities, my internal fears that come up, right? And so I'm sure that we all can relate to that in some way in our own lives. And then I can start getting into do mode and pressure mode and performance mode. And that checks me out of my heart. I'm not fully present because now I'm focused more on what I'm producing. And I feel like people feel that. People feel that. And so what I've learned over the years and what I try really hard to practice and ground myself in is it's about the energy that you're creating. It's about the connections that you're going to make. It's about how you make people feel. So I can come in with a plan and then I can throw the whole plan away because, and she's back. Because I'm like, it's not about being perfect. It's not about a performance. It's about connecting. It's about relationship. It's about how I'm relating with other women and how I'm helping women feel. Right. So I'm taking the pressure to produce value off of myself. And I'm trusting that who I am is valuable, period, because that's who God created me to be. Value is not something that I have to create. Value is who I am. So like in your marriage, right? You are valuable to your husbands simply because of who God created you to be as women. It's not about our performance. It's not about what you produce. And a man who's really healthy in his masculinity doesn't even expect you to produce as much as he's producing, because he has the desire to produce and he has the desire to provide and he has the desire to protect. And really what makes him feel valued is you being able to be a good receiver of that. But when we're putting pressure to perform and produce, it gets in the way of us being receptive. And part of being a good receiver is also what helps us to be good at resting. Right? If I can't receive from people, if I can't receive from the Lord, then I'm constantly striving and I can't lean into the rest. Mariah, you had something you wanted to share before?
That was a late reaction, but I yeah, I guess I don't remember what I was going to share, but yeah, definitely this resonates. I think something I guess I'll say right now is because I'm talking, but I was going to say rest. The thing that came to my mind is like rest itself is a gift. You know, like God gifted us rest. So like it's like receiving gifts. You know, we receive that gift of rest from God. Like we can learn how to receive that gift of rest, and that's just a part of the receiving, learning how to receive, um so that you can like be able to intuitively produce whatever. I mean, it's not even the value part, but be and produce at the same time. Or yeah.
Rest is mental, emotional, so that's soul, right? The soul needs rest. Rest is physical, Leslie, right? If you don't get enough sleep, you feel that. You feel that in your body, you feel that in your soul, you feel that when we don't get enough rest, we feel that in every area of our life. Physical rest. Rest is also deeply spiritual. I mean, and I would even go as far as to say that rest is a spiritual issue. And when we are believing lies about ourselves, our identity, that's a spiritual issue. Our personalities and the soul, our identity is our spirit. So if there's things that I'm believing in my spirit about my identity that are preventing me from being able to rest, then it's going to affect my soul. I'm going to have an overactive mind, an overguarded heart. I'm going to be hypervigilant in life, right? I'm going to put a lot of pressure on myself. I'm going to have a lot of distrust towards others. There's a lot of ways that it shows up and manifests. And then I'm not going to be able to physically rest because now my body is in hyperdrive. I'm in my sympathetic nervous system all the time. I'm living now in fight or flight, freeze. I'm constantly hypervigilant. So it's a spiritual issue that ripples into the soul that then affects the physical body. And we try to fix it with the physical. We try to get more sleep. Or we try to, and there's nothing wrong with that. We need sleep. Sleep is important. But sometimes, I mean, I don't know about you, but there have been times in my journey where no amount of sleep gave my soul or spirit the amount of rest that I needed. Rest is a spiritual issue. And the holding space is more about the soul and like the body and like the sacred pause, when we gather next week, that's where we're going to go even deeper. And we're going to talk about the identity issues that get in the way of us being able to fully live a lifestyle of rest. Because, God created the order of things, and he said every seventh day would be a Sabbath. So that rest is a part of creation's rhythm. But then when Jesus came, the Sabbath is no longer a 1 day a week thing that we get to indulge in. The Sabbath is a lifestyle. We're called to live a lifestyle of rest. It's not something that we choose. Oh, I'm going to rest for 2 hours today. Oh, I'm going to get a full night's sleep. Like, rest is a rhythm of life. But most of us don't know how to live that way. And a lot of the reasons why we're blocked is because of lies we're believing in our spirit. So it's a spiritual issue. Any questions on that? Nothing? Crickets? Is it landing? It's landing? Okay. So we talked about rest, some cultural confusions about rest. Is rest is lazy? We talked about, not in these exact words, but if I rest, I'll fall behind. The fear of falling behind. Can anyone relate to that? Rest is weak. Rest is selfish. Anything else? Oh, Claire, you're muted.
Thank you. I think we kind of touched on this, but kind of comparison. Like, I'm a 30-something-year-old woman, and I should be here in life. I should have this. I should have a family, a marriage. I should have a great career. I should have this much in my bank account. I should be taking vacations.
Yeah. So not just the fear of falling behind, but the fear or the judgment of I am behind. I'm not where I should be at this point in my life. So I have to work even harder to get where I think I should be.
Yeah.
Here's some questions for you guys to write down. And I would really encourage you to spend some time this month reflecting. The first one would be, when I try to rest. And when you're thinking about rest, think about rest as a whole. Think about mental rest, emotional rest, physical rest, spiritual rest. When I try to rest, I feel. Some people can't rest. They feel anxious. They feel guilty, right? There's a lot of things we can feel. But when I try to rest, I feel shame, guilt, fear. But check in with yourself. And maybe the way you check in with yourself is you actively try to rest, and then maybe notice what discomfort comes up for you. I'm choosing rest, and all of a sudden my body kicks in and my mind kicks in and starts telling me all of the things around the house that I need to do. And now I'm not resting. Well, when I try to choose rest, I feel pressure to accomplish. Like, what comes up for you when you're choosing rest? Another one that you can reflect on is the story I tell myself about rest is. Victoria gave us an illustration earlier. The story I tell myself about rest is, I'm not going to be able to tell my husband that I did enough throughout the day. I'm not going to be able to validate what I accomplished and produced, and that's going to have a negative effect on my value in this marriage, but the story that we tell ourselves around it. What story are you telling yourself around rest? And is that story rooted in truth or cognitive distortion? Is it rooted in truth, or is it rooted in cultural pressures? Another one is, I rest easily when. Again, Victoria shared, when I don't have a to-do list. Okay, that's great, but that can also be very limiting, because if we're called and created to live a lifestyle of rest, but we only feel like we can rest when we have nothing to do, there's an alignment that has to happen so that we can have a to-do list and still feel like we're in a state of rest while we're accomplishing what we need to accomplish. Right? And also, when do I resist rest? What causes me to resist rest? And wherever there's resistance, there's a lack of surrender. And when there's a lack of surrender, it's normally because there's a deep-seated fear. So if you really want to dig deep into your belief system, the next question you could ask is, what am I afraid of? Often the place that we feel the most depleted in life is the place that we need the most rest. So as we're winding down, I thought it would be good to just spend some time ideating together. What can different rest look like? So physical rest, to rest our physical being, other than sleep, which is very important. But I think it's probably the first thing we all think of. Well, you just need to get a good night's sleep, take a nap. Yeah. What else? What else helps the physical being find rest?
I think of warmth. So, like a warm cup of tea or a warm bath or just like nourishing. I find rest when I do that. Personally, the sun, like anything that's just very physically warming. Um, yeah, those are some of my thoughts.
For me, it's walking.
Oh, Leslie, you cut out, but I think what you said was walking helps your body feel rest. So like a gentle movement helps your body feel rest.
Yes, not doing necessarily an exercise walk, like just a slow walk for like 20 minutes in the sunshine.
Yeah.
With my daughter.
And grandbaby.
Yep, and when all of my grandkids are around, it's
Yeah.
For me, that's what I love.
Yeah. Beautiful. Anybody else? What helps your physical being feel rest?
Just sitting outside and being in nature, like, and just being present. Yeah.
For me, I would say like working out and in the sauna right after. I feel like it's a form of rest for me. Because I get to, I hate to say this, but like getting away from studying and like everything else is a form of rest for me.
Yeah. Silence. Silence is a form of rest for me. I like to just turn the noise off. I don't want the radio on. I don't want music on. I don't want to listen to the podcast. Like sometimes I physically feel like overly stimulated, and to just quiet everything down helps my physical being find that state of rest again. What about mental? How can we give ourselves mental rest? Mariah?
I would say I feel mentally rested after a long, good journal.
How do you find that doing a long, good journal session helps you get that mental rest? What is it about journaling that gives you that mental rest?
It's like my personal safe vault to just unleash everything that's on my mind. It helps me to process. So oftentimes, like my mind will be running, going in circles, or just really overwhelmed by a lot of thoughts, or even ruminating thoughts, the same thoughts over and over again. Journaling and just free flowing, like whatever comes to my mind, it's almost like I'm dumping everything out onto paper. And afterwards, I feel so like I'm relieved. Like I just got to let it out. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Anybody else? What helps you mentally rest?
I think for me, so Leslie, you had mentioned walking
Mine is
or
talking with
gentle
my
movement.
husband.
Oh, I think we're all delayed. What just happened?
Okay, I think we had two people talking at the same time. So Victoria, do you mind waiting and we'll let Leslie
Yeah.
go first? Okay. Leslie, what were you saying?
Oh, mine's just sitting and talking with my husband. Like after work when he gets home, I can just sit down and talk with him, and he's my best friend, and I just like taking time and sitting and talking with him and letting him know everything that's going on.
That's beautiful. That emotional, that relational connection and being able to share what's going on gives you
Yeah.
a state of rest. I can relate. Anybody relate to that?
Yeah.
I totally can relate to that. Feeling connected with people. Yeah. Victoria, what were you saying?
I was just saying a couple of things on the physical rest list are mental rest for me. I rest well, like my brain can slow down when I'm on a slow walk or I'm outside in nature. Usually, if I'm overstimulated up here, just really stuck in my head, it's better that I move than sit. Um, Depending on the situation. Also, like if there is overstimulation or overwhelm, I can lay in complete silence and that will almost help my mental state. But yeah, so I think, I mean, obviously everything is very interconnected, but for me, that's what I usually feel.
Anybody else have anything that they want to rest, they want to add to mental rest? For me, like less decisions. Like if I'm feeling mentally overloaded, I just like even something as simple as just meal prepping for the next few days. And then I don't even have to think about food, like just trying to go, how can I simplify how many decisions I have to make? Because I've got so much on my mind and I'm feeling like decision fatigue. So what can I do to simplify that or even input, like learning too much, listening to too many podcasts, listening to too many audiobooks, like I can go into like consumption binge of information. And I realize that I hit this point where I'm like, oh, it's information overload. I need a mental rest. I don't need more input. I actually need silence, or I just need mellow music, or I need to create instead of input. What about emotional rest?
I was gonna say one that I think is like, for me, it's physical, mental, and emotional. Like, for example, I have like a day off or half a day off, like just being really slow, taking my time, doing what I want to do, but also setting an intention. This is my day off. I'm not gonna sit here and stress about the things that I need to do or I should be doing. I'm going to be present in this day off. And then when those thoughts pop up, like I notice them, no, I already said today is my day to rest. I'll deal with those tomorrow or at a later time. And that has really been like you can relax and do something, and you're actually present and relaxing or cooking or whatever. You're really enjoying that moment.
Yeah. So setting those boundaries for yourself
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
choosing, like I'm choosing not to worry about these things. And every time I catch myself worrying about these things, I'm choosing to honor the boundary I set for myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very good. Emotional rest. How about not managing other people's emotions? I'm not responsible for your emotions. I'm only responsible for mine. And sometimes if I start feeling overwhelmed emotionally, it's because I've started taking responsibility for people's emotions that I'm not actually responsible for. And I have to step out of that. I'm seeing heads nod. So I think this is something most women can relate to, right? I'm not responsible. If I start taking responsibility for people's emotions, I can start feeling emotional overwhelm and exhaustion. And that is one of the first keys of going, I need to pull back, because now I'm stepping into codependency. Now I'm trying to manage people that I'm not actually responsible for their inner world. I already shared having a good cry. That's like, if I get really emotionally tense, which I can get, I have really big feelings, just crying can give me the rest that I need, because I get the release that I was needing. What else helps you guys feel emotionally rested?
I had wrote that down, crying, because it's the same. It's the emotional release that leads us back to homeostasis. And then I just wrote down like heart check-in. So just even, I mean, I can be in emotional turmoil and just sit for a moment and be like, what's going on? And kind of comfort and nurture and ask for comfort and nurture from God in that area and just immediately feel peace. So I think there's, because something's usually crying or like screaming somewhere within us. So like I find emotional rest when I acknowledge those things and sit with it and nurture and comfort.
I think knowing you said it earlier, but knowing when to know when it's your emotions versus someone else's emotions that you're taking on, and kind of separating it, because I'm a feeler. Like I feel others people's emotions all the time, whether it's anger or sadness or whatever. And I feel really hard. So when that happens, I'm like, well, what am I feeling? Is this my emotion or am I taking on someone else's emotion? And really like sit with that.
Yeah. Something else that helps me feel emotionally rested is quality time with safe people that I can be fully myself with. There's something very emotionally grounding about that for me. Mariah's giving me an amen. The heart is now officially the amen. Okay, spiritual rest. What can that look like?
For
For me,
me, oh, you
go
go.
ahead. Okay.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I feel so spiritually rested and connected when I have like a true like heart worship. Like my heart is connected to the worship, to the songs that I'm singing, and to God. Like when I'm worshiping, sing my heart out, cry, weep, whatever. Like just letting that flow. That's how I feel spiritually rested. One of the ways.
Yeah, mine's similar when I think about like the sacrifice that was made for us, for me to live this life. I feel like gratitude comes with that. And then that kind of flows. And despite what's going on, like you can focus on how many things you're grateful for. And like focusing on like my favorite Bible verse, and really getting in like this moment where like my mind isn't being distracted or pulled away, like you're really focused in, like that feels very spiritually like renewing and almost like I feel propelled forward.
For me, being in nature, and we've talked about this for pretty much all of them, but being in nature helps me if I'm feeling any type of disconnection from God in any way. If I go on my paddleboard, or if I go for go watch a sunset, or if I just put myself out and if I go sit on my patio and listen to the birds chirp and the breeze blowing through the leaves, like there's something about nature that can bring me back to a state of spiritual rest where I'm like, I almost remember that I'm held. It just reminds me of who God is and how beautiful his creation is. And it just puts anything that feels disrupted within me, it just puts it into perspective and brings me into a state of spiritual rest. I think we talk a lot in the Living Beautifully culture of, practicing the art of remembrance. And I heard you talk about that a little bit, Claire, like just remembering if I'm in a state of spiritual unrest for whatever, I'm having a hard time trusting God for something. If I remind myself of who God is and the times that he's been faithful in my life, or even if I pull from somebody else's testimony because I need something from their testimony in my own life, but practicing the art of remembrance of who God is and what he's done. And then also practicing the art of gratitude kind of together, that can bring me back into a state of spiritual rest. Reading the word and meditating on the word. And again, just feeding my spirit truth, that can bring me to a state of rest. I totally relate with you, Mariah, as far as worship. Worship can totally, meditating on the love of God, like just meditating on how much he loves us and how kind he is towards me and how gracious he is towards me. And meditating on his love can bring me to a state of spiritual rest. So anything else? There's so many other things, right? We could talk about like relational rest, financial. I mean, there's like rest in every aspect of our life, but that's you, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, that's you. And everything else overflows from you. So as we practice living from a place of rest, that rest begins to ripple into everything we do and how we show up in every area and realm of our life, and how we manage and steward our responsibilities and resources. But it starts with us. So we have just a couple more minutes. Anybody want to share what one of your, like maybe a quick little takeaway? What are you taking away from our holding space? Our very first holding space. I'm so glad you were here.
I think, yeah, I just want to be more intentional. So what you even said at the very beginning, I think it almost comes full circle. Like, okay, how do I make a sticky note of all these things and just really remember throughout the day and really take time to just be more aware? I think that's going to be I just want to be more aware and I want to be more intentional. And I'm jotting things down and things that stuck out and just kind of have this wall right here. It's going to be covered in little post-it reminders. Yeah.
Beautiful. Anybody else want to share a takeaway? Leslie, Amrita?
I think I need to be more intentional too, and not take away any guilt of feeling like I need to rest in any kind of way, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I had a good time.
Yay. We weren't scary, right?
Rest has been so weird for me because I just got married like a year ago. So I was trying to balance between like being a wife and all this. So rest is, I needed this. I need to hear this. Um, but yeah, not like putting all like the external pressures of being a wife on me and like resting in the fact that my husband chose me for, just me and not like all the things that I can do. I think like just being a wife, not doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Because I know in my own history, when I got married, I stepped out of Tanya and I stepped into what I thought a wife was supposed to be. I stepped into a role and I lost myself in that role. And I think a lot of us have a tendency to do that. So the fact that you're catching that, so soon, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Mariah Claire, anything real quick that you're going to take away?
Oh, Claire, you were muted.
Go ahead, Mariah.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I would say I relate a lot to the being, like taking the pressure, external pressure off, especially now that I'm a new mom and a wife. It's like I think I have been feeling that pressure to a little bit, just a little bit to make sure I have everything done and like all the house is taken care of, and like everything like that I'm being, well, obviously I want to be present for my baby, but like it's not out of a place of pressure. Like I can still find the rest, all while being a mom and living out of that place. So yeah, it's just a good reminder and I want to start implementing it more.
Thank you. Claire? Oh, you're muted, Claire.
Thank you. Okay, I was just thinking, like, I just came out of this crazy busy season at work and the holidays, and like rest was little. And my intention for this coming year is like deeper connection with the people that I love and building new connections and just realizing the best version of me and the way that I can pour into that the most is from a well-rested place. And I have seen when I am putting these tools into practice, yeah, everything is better. I am better. And yeah, so it was just a really nice reminder. Like, it just takes intention. Building relationship takes intention. This takes intention. And yeah, this part is just very important.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. Well, and I think, like I said at the beginning, it's winter and this is the time to practice rest. Because once spring comes, our energy is going to peak. We're going to have intuitively, we're going to want to start doing more and producing more. And if we're not prioritizing and protecting rest now, we're not allowing our natural being to recharge so that we can show up in the spring and summer from a place of overflow. So again, if you didn't listen to the last episode of the year, the podcast, go listen to that one because I speak into this and it's honestly one of my favorite episodes we've done so far. And yeah, time is up. That 90-minute, I thought we were going to suffer through it, but girls, we took it up. We took up space today. So thank you so much. I know you guys have so much going on, but just to make time to be here, it was so nice to see each of your faces. I hope that you'll be here again next month. We're going to probably every 3 months rotate the time. So I'm thinking I want to do like an evening session, an afternoon session, and a morning session and just rotate it that way because I want to make it available to as many women as can. If you can't make it in person, we're going to find a way to email the video so you can at least watch it that way. Invite your friends to come. It was a small group this time, but as the group grows, which I believe it's going to grow because women are hungry for this right now, we're going to eventually start doing breakouts. I might have some past clients help be like small group facilitators if you guys are open to that as the group grows. So, but women are just longing for a place to let their armor down and be nurtured. And that's my heart, is to nurture women. So that's it. Any questions, any comments, any feedback? Nothing.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for creating this space. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yes.
All right. I love you guys so much. And hopefully we will see you next month. Or come to the sacred pause. Come to the sacred pause because we're gonna go way deeper.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Leslie. I talked over you. What did you say?
I think her Wi-Fi is very laggy.
Oh, just say thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, my friends. Until next time, love you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.